UFC Fight Night Paris, Renato Moicano versus Benoit Saint-Denis just ended, and this is going to be my full card post-fight. We're going to discuss every single fight on the card. I'm going to give my reaction and breakdown to the results, and I really enjoyed this card. It wasn't the greatest card ever, but it was still a really good fight night card. And one thing I will say is the Paris crowd is the best crowd in MMA. I absolutely love the energy. It's so nice when we get a really decent fight night card, we get it in an arena, sold out arena, and the crowd actually has energy. And they actually show up for the fights. So shout out to the UFC for putting an event on in Paris. Shout out to the Paris fans for showing up for the fights. You know, UFC Noche, there's people missing out on the first few fights. UFC 300, there's people not even showing up till the main card. UFC Paris, from the very first fight, basically the entire arena was full. So, great card. It delivered. It wasn't the craziest card ever, but it was still a really solid fight night card. Let's jump into it. First fight of the night, we have Bolaji versus Chris Duncan. Man, Bolaji has to be kicking himself. Bolaji was working over Chris Duncan in this fight, was lighting him up on the feet, was rocking him, was stinging him, was walking him down, took him down once or twice as well, but he ultimately gets choked out cold in the first round. And what happened is he was basically winning. Chris Duncan clinches up with him. Oki decides he's going to trip him for a takedown. As he's tripping him, he drops to a knee. Chris Duncan locks up a guillotine as he's falling backwards and then starts choking Oki. Now, Oki fights and tries to pry his way out of the guillotine, and he finally gets out. Believe it or not, he finally gets out. But as he gets out, he's completely unconscious. So as his head slips out, I guess he went out cold maybe 5 seconds before that, 10 seconds before that. I don't know exactly when it was. Chris Duncan starts punching him a little bit from bottom and then points at him to the ref, and then the ref finally stops the fight. So I don't know when exactly he went out because the ref wasn't really checking on him. He's just staring at him, not doing anything, wasn't checking his hand or anything, even though it was a deep guillotine. But man, Oki has to be kicking himself after that because it was a fight that it was his to win, man. It was going exactly how most people thought it would. Oki was piecing him up on the feet. And, you know, he was even winning the grappling exchanges. There was a moment in time where Duncan looked for the guillotine earlier in the fight and got taken down. It went for the clinch, kind of went over the top for like a standing guillotine, got taken down. Oki, you know, popped his head right out and scrambled right out of it. But yeah, Oki gets choked out in the first round, out cold. Weird stoppage. Referee should have been more attentive to the fighters. Could have ended badly had he not actually popped out or went out right before he popped out, because then Duncan would have maybe just kept choking and the referee would have stood there oblivious. But yeah, Chris Duncan gets it done via first round submission. Next fight on the card, we have Nora Cornolle versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. This was actually a good fight. I know a lot of people like to crap on women's MMA. I actually enjoyed this fight. It ended up being a split decision win for Cavalcanti. I don't know how they scored this a split decision. The only round that Cornolle could have gotten was the first round, and I don't even think she won that round. She did some damage in the clinch. She got a takedown. She got full mount for a brief period of time before she got reversed, and Cavalcanti ended up on top and then getting back to the feet. Cavalcanti, the story of this fight was Cavalcanti just outstriking her on the feet. And maybe you could give Cornolle the first round. I didn't personally. I scored a 30-27 for Cavalcanti. Cavalcanti was even lighting her up in the second round, hurt her badly with the right hand. She was just landing combinations. She probably could have finished her. Had she been a little bit more aggressive in the second round, she landed like a right hand that dropped Cornolle and then didn't really follow up all that aggressively. Otherwise, she probably could have went out there and finished her. But more of the same in the third round. Cornolle tried to, you know, grapple a little bit in the third round, tried to clinch up a little bit, but she really didn't have any success. And it should have been a clear bare minimum 29-28 win for Jacqueline Cavalcanti, but somehow one judge scored it for Nora Cornolle. Absolute delusion and a complete and utter embarrassment to the sport. But luckily, the rightful winner won anyway in Jacqueline Cavalcanti. We had a couple questionable decisions or scorecards on UFC Paris. Next fight on the card, we have Daniel Barez versus Victor Altamirano. Daniel Barez wins via unanimous decision. Looked like he's going to get him out of there in the first round. I picked him via first round KO, drops him with the right hand, flash KOs him, follows him to the ground, looks for the finish, can't find it. Clearly won the first round. Second round, more competitive, and the commentary team was really sucking off Altamirano, mainly Michael Bisping, because Altamirano is just spamming head kicks the entire fight, backing up, spamming head kicks that aren't landing. Sometimes, like, the toes would get through and land a little bit, but for the most part, it was just Altamirano spamming head kicks that weren't landing. And Bisping's like, oh yeah, I really like what he's doing. He's really beating up the arm of Barez on the feet with his kicks. But that's it. I mean, he loses the second round, got dropped badly in like the last 2 minutes of the second round. It was a competitive round, don't get me wrong, much more competitive than the first round. And then the third round is where maybe you can give a round to Altamirano, because Altamirano hurts him. Was it a spinning back fist or elbow? I can't remember. He landed 2 in the round, but hurts him badly, swarms him for about 10, 15 seconds, doesn't really land anything of note, but broke his nose with the spinning attack. And then what you have is you have Altamirano go back to doing exactly what he's been doing, backing up, head kick, backing up, head kick, backing up, occasional body kick. And then Barez hurts him late in the round and almost finishes him. Like, it was like 10 seconds left, dropped him badly, like flash KO'd him. There was another time where he kind of slipped. That probably wasn't really a knockdown, so I didn't really score that. So Barez, you know, getting hurt the one time and losing for like 30 to 45 seconds, I still gave Barez the round because he rocked him at the end. So I had it 30-27 for Barez. Third round, you could say, well, the broken nose and he was bloodied up, so maybe you give it to Victor Altamirano. But nonetheless, Daniel Barez gets the win. Looked powerful, looked fast. Altamirano didn't mix in the grappling at all, which a lot of people thought he would. I don't even know if he shot a takedown, to be honest. He just backed up and spammed head kicks over and over. It was actually infuriating to watch. And hearing Bisping just suck him off for spamming head kicks that were being blocked every single time was driving me nuts. Now, he did have some success mixing in the body kicks after throwing the head kicks, but I don't know, just a horrible strategy. And to lose for 15 minutes like that and not do anything to change it is absolutely insane and horrible fight IQ. But that's not even the worst fight IQ we've seen on this card. Next fight on the card, we have Ailín Pérez versus Daria Zheleznyakova. I mean, Ailín Pérez, you know, people like her because she shakes her ass. You know, they'll be saying like, shake that ass for me, girl. I've seen people saying that, which is just crazy that you got people simping over Ailín Pérez. She caught a kick. She took her down. Or actually, I'm wrong. Zheleznyakova caught a kick and took her down, but then let her right back up. And then Pérez got a takedown, got in the mount, ended up in half guard on the wrong side, and then locks up the arm triangle from the wrong side. Squeeze. You can see the squeezes there. Zheleznyakova starts changing colors, and Ailín Pérez finishes her via first round arm triangle. First round arm triangle. And Zheleznyakova really couldn't do anything about it. Then she twerks her ass in her face. Now, look, I understand the simps out there like, oh, yeah, I'd like to see Pérez shake that ass for me, girl, you know. I know people like that, okay? And they simp over that. And they like seeing that in the cage. But to do that to your opponent, to put your ass right in their face and give them pink eye, potentially, right after you just defeated them, after you missed weight and you used your physicality advantage to beat them, is complete and utter disrespect. I just think for her to twerk and celebrate, fair enough. She literally was putting her ass in her face. And then when Zheleznyakova tried to move out the way, she put her ass in her face again. I mean, Chandler would be praying for that type of treatment from Conor McGregor, but nonetheless, it's disrespectful. And then Zheleznyakova like hugs her afterwards. Like, what? What? That's crazy. I would sucker punch her over Thanksgiving dinner for that. You know, it's crazy. The disrespect is crazy, but I think it made it worse that she missed weight. And again, I don't mind her twerking. That's her entire personality. Her twerk is essentially tied to Avasa drinking alcohol out of shoes, dirty shoes, and spitting in them. So that's her entire personality. And she gets it done, but she misses weight, so it doesn't really mean anything, and Zheleznyakova isn't that good. Her grappling's absolutely horrible. Next fight on the card, we have Taylor Lapilus versus Vince Morales, or Moraes. I forgot how you pronounce his last name. What's there to say about this fight? I mean, basically Lapilus just dominated him in the striking, landing knees, landing punches. Second round, landed a nasty knee right to the jaw that probably could have finished him, but somehow Morales just ate it and just was winning on the feet, was just touching him up on the feet. Morales was gritty. He was tough. He was eating shots. He was throwing back. He was moving forward on occasion. I think he had 1 or 2 takedowns, but it didn't last long. Lapilus was able to scramble right back up. And this was the matchup that it was supposed to be. Lapilus was supposed to go out there and put on a performance for the French crowd. It wasn't like a crazy, amazing fight by any means, but Lapilus is just a superior striker, and he has decent enough anti-grappling to be able to fend off Vince Morales. And that's exactly what he did. Good performance. I'd like to see more of a step up in opposition for him in the next fight. But he did exactly what he was supposed to do to Morales. And I feel like Morales, he was too, I don't know, willing to exchange. And, you know, he got busted up in the first round, was bleeding in the first round. And I feel like and it's easier said than done. He should have been more kind of urgent to mix in the grappling, and he just was not. And he was just getting butchered on the feet. And, you know, credit to him. He got a great chin. Took that. I mean, it was a filthy knee in the second round. If you haven't seen that, the knee landed right on the chin. And somehow he ate it and didn't even go down. So credit to him for that, but he just got outclassed 30-27. Taylor Lapilus wins via unanimous decision. Next fight on the card, we have Ľudovít Klein versus Roosevelt Roberts. What's crazy about this fight is, so Ľudovít Klein wins via unanimous decision. This fight, I don't want to crap on Ľudovít Klein because it's almost like it's a weird effect when you expect somebody to absolutely dominate someone and then they don't dominate them as much as you expect. You kind of shit on their performance a bit. First round was super competitive. You know, it was Klein clinching, doing a little bit damage. Roosevelt Roberts was landing some shots on the feet. I thought the first round you could have given to Roosevelt Roberts. Maybe Klein edged it out, very close. Second round, Klein knocks him off his feet with a calf kick in like the first 30 seconds, jumps into his guard, and basically controls him the entire round. It was okay damage, but it wasn't really great. It was kind of, you know, iffy. You know, it arguably was like getting like, okay, you got to do something here. And then the third round, Klein was kind of getting tired, got a takedown. Roosevelt Roberts worked his way back up. At one point, Roosevelt Roberts, he went for a submission, but I can't remember what it was. And I have it here, but I don't remember what it was. He went for something, but I can't remember what it was in the third round. But Klein just got another takedown, was just landing good shots. And, you know, third round was arguably close. It wasn't like a dominant round, but I still thought Ľudovít Klein clearly won. I thought it was a 30-27 for Ľudovít Klein. But Ľudovít Klein was definitely tired in the third round. And this fight was not what I anticipated. I thought Ľudovít Klein was going to run through Roosevelt Roberts. And it was a fairly competitive fight. You know, they're in a world where these judges are just absolutely atrocious, which they were at UFC Paris. You could literally get a robbery win for Roosevelt Roberts. You could somehow find him like 1-3. And I'm not kidding. Now, luckily for Klein, it was a unanimous decision. Some people later tonight weren't as lucky, but yeah, he gets it done. He basically outgrapples Roosevelt Roberts for 3 rounds and works to clinch and dirty boxing, and he gets it done. Next fight on the card, we have Oumar Sy versus Da-Won Jung. This one was interesting. It was a unanimous decision win for Oumar Sy. But this fight was like really pretty interesting, to be quite honest, because Jung won the first round, in my opinion. Sy was landing some good leg kicks. He started to get confident. He rushed in, got clipped, badly hurt. Started grappling, got a takedown, but didn't do much damage. Jung got back up and then started landing on the feet again. And Sy looked tired, man. He looked tired, ate another big shot before the end of the round. I had Jung winning the first round, and I was like, this is not looking good for Oumar Sy. I was like, Tukos Tokos. He's getting tired, B. He's breathing heavy, B. I was like, man, Jung's really going to win this. And then the second round, it's like Sy just started to kind of take over. I mean, there was some back and forth, some sloppy exchanges. Neither guy looked great. Sy was landing some good right hands, landed a couple good knees as well. You could just tell Jung was fading. And then at the end of the second round, Sy's landing big shots. And it's like 5 seconds left, and it looks like he might get Jung out of there, and he shoots a takedown. I could not believe it. It was just like, what are you doing? Horrible fight IQ. And then the third round, Sy was just landing better shots. Started grappling a bit towards the end of the round, and just beat him. I mean, he won the second and third. He didn't look great on the feet. He looked tired, but he did rally and win the second and third round. But it just seemed like Jung somehow gassed out after the first round. The biggest takeaway I had from this fight is Oumar Sy has some really good calf kicks. He didn't use them enough because Jung was super heavy on that lead leg. But yeah, you know, he was able to get it done. His cardio was better than I thought after the first round because it looked like he was getting pretty tired. But super sloppy on the feet, man. I could only imagine like him lunging in against somebody who has filthy power like Pereira. I know there's the grappling threat, but Pereira would have brutally chinned him in the first round. So Oumar Sy gets it done via unanimous decision. Next fight on the card, I think this was a feature prelim. It is. We have Ivan Cutelaba versus Ivan Erslan. Man, this fight was crazy. Cutelaba stung him multiple times in the first round. There was one time where he dropped Erslan in the first round, and Cutelaba won the first round. Second round, actually, I think I had Cutelaba winning all 3 rounds, to be honest. Yeah. after the first round, basically, there was a takedown in the first round from Cutelaba. He dropped him. He stung him multiple times in the first round. And the fight was competitive throughout, but then Cutelaba was just landing the better shots, occasionally mixing in the grappling. There was times where Cutelaba would eat some bad shots. But second round, like late second round, Erslan started to get tired. Cutelaba got a takedown and took his back for a little bit and looked for a rear naked choke. And it looked like deep, but it was really like a palm to palm. And Erslan was able to kind of, fend it off and then get back to his feet. And then Cutelaba was shot like another double leg takedown that had Tim Welch grabbing his hair and said, who could have expected this? A double leg takedown in an MMA fight in the UFC? Double legs? Holy crap. Who would have guessed it? You're a warrior, Shug. You're a warrior, Shug. Keep breathing. But yeah, Cutelaba at the end of the second round had a low IQ moment where he like took his back and then it was almost like he pulled himself over the top and ended up on bottom for like the last 20 seconds. But then the third round, like maybe... Actually, I'm sorry. I think I said Cutelaba had all 3 rounds. Now that I'm thinking about it, going through it round by round, Cutelaba lost the third round because Erslan, in a clinch up, looked for a guillotine. Cutelaba went to his back, and then basically Erslan just laid in his guard the entire time. And then Cutelaba, I think, got up with a very limited time left. I don't know. I'm not really vividly remembering the third round right now. I'm a bit tired. But I thought Cutelaba clearly won this fight. He clearly won rounds 1 and 2. And I think round 3 I scored for Erslan. But I don't know what other round really you'd give to Erslan, and somehow it's a split decision for Cutelaba. Luckily he gets it done, but still, what are those judges looking at? Should have been Cutelaba, and luckily he gets it done. But Bisping was horrible in this. He's like, this is the best Iwan Cutelaba has ever looked. He looked sloppy, man. I mean, he was landing some shots, but Erslan didn't look good either. I think Cutelaba, what really won in this fight was he was mixing in the grappling, even when he didn't need to, just to give Erslan something to think about. And, yeah, he gets it done via decision. Next fight on the card, the fight that opened up the main card at UFC Paris. Man, Matt Frevola got absolutely flatlined in the third round by a knee. It was filthy. First round, Matt Frevola was like shooting. First off, when I seen him in the cage next to each other, I wanted to flip my pick immediately. I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds dumb. But once I seen him, and I didn't watch the weigh-ins or anything, and once I seen him side by side, I'm like, damn, I should have picked Ziam. Much younger, and man, was he so much bigger. Matt Frevola looked like he didn't even belong in there. First round, Frevola is shooting takedowns. Ziam is like defending him. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be a tough night for Frevola. Then he gets a takedown. Then Ziam starts to scramble up. Frevola almost gets a guillotine, gets a mounted guillotine, but then Ziam gets out of that position. It's not in that position for long and starts just boxing up Frevola on the feet with straight shots and just picking his shots and rocking Frevola and hurting him badly. Frevola's leaping in with huge overhand rights. Second round, more of the same. Frevola looked punch drunk, and Ziam's just dominated him. I think he even got a takedown in the second round, started landing some ground and pound as well. Ziam was out grappling him. Then the third round, kind of similar situation. They end up in like a clinched position, and it's almost like Frevola's trying to exit, and Ziam's kind of framing off a little bit. And Ziam throws this filthy knee, man, and it landed right on the chin of Matt Frevola and slumps him out cold. We're talking like Johnny Walker level KO here, okay? That's how brutal and malicious this KO was. I mean, I'm not sure what the bonuses were, but Ziam should have definitely got performance of the night. That was a nasty KO. It was so brutal. And Matt Frevola, it's crazy, man. At one point, he's in the top 15 of the rankings, and people are kind of talking about him. And then it's him versus Benoit Saint-Denis, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And now he's losing to Ziam. And Ziam, I actually kind of been on the train for him for a little bit, and then I flipped to Frevola. He's improving massively. His grappling's looking better. His striking's looking more polished every single time. I don't want to necessarily die on this hill yet, but don't be surprised if Ziam ends up being like a top 15 lightweight. Don't be shocked, okay? And I'd love to see him against Rybovics. That'd be a heater. That'd be an absolute heater. Ziam versus Esteban Rybovics. Book that fight. Filthy KO. Improving every single fight. Looked good with the grappling. Looked good with the striking. Dealt with the mounted guillotine in the early adversity. Super young and improving every single fight. When I see a guy, this was a long time ago, I thought Charles Oliveira would be a future champion, despite he would kind of have his ups and downs, is because every single fight I've seen him improving. And that's one of the biggest kind of tells of how good a guy is going to be in the future. If like, even if he has some losses, how's he looking fight to fight? Is he improving? And Ziam is improving leaps and bounds every single fight. Nasty 3rd round KO over Matt Frevola. Great win. Next fight on the card, we have Morgan Charriere. Speaking of nasty KOs, we have Morgan Charriere versus Gabriel Miranda. Man, first round, Charriere, kind of landing some shots, but being a little bit tentative. Miranda throwing heavy shots, pulling guard multiple times. Charriere would follow him to the ground a little bit and land a little bit of ground and pound, but then he'd back up. The first round, Charriere clearly won. Second round, a weird clinch exchange where Gabriel Miranda's trying to exit, similar to the fight we just talked about with Frevola, but he's trying to exit and throw like a spinning back fist, and as he does, Charriere just leaps in with a left hook, bink, right on the chin, puts him down, out cold, follows up with a couple shots, ref jumps in, filthy KO by Morgan Charriere. I mean, what more to say about it? I mean, it's against Gabriel Miranda, which I expect him to do, primarily a grappler, and what's crazy is Gabriel Miranda, low fight IQ, honestly. He's pulling guard because he's a really good grappler. He would pull guard and then immediately get feet on the hips and push Charriere away. So then why are you pulling guard if you don't want to be in guard? So I don't understand that. Maybe he was hoping he was going to make a mistake. I don't know. Charriere would hang out just a little bit, do a little bit of ground and pound, and as soon as he got pushed off or he had the opportunity, he would disengage and then wave him up. It happened like 2 or 3 times. One time he pulled guard and Charriere didn't even go down. He ended up just standing back up, basically. Miranda just pulled guard, but they were still standing, and then Miranda just put his feet back down. Great win from Charriere in terms of performance, but against Gabriel Miranda in his mustache, it doesn't really mean all that much in the grand scheme of things. But I thought Charriere beat Chepe Mariscal. So I thought that was a bit of a robbery. So in my opinion, he's still kind of undefeated in the UFC, unless I'm forgetting something right now. But he gets it done. Second round KO in a filthy highlight reel KO at that. Next fight on the card, we have Kevin Jousset versus Bryan Battle. Man, Bryan the Butcher Battle. Thank God he changed that stupid nickname. What was it? Pooh Bear? Bryan Pooh Bear Battle. Man, maybe people are going to make fun of me for this comparison. This fight reminded me, as I'm watching it, it reminded me of, I don't know why I want to say Renato Moicano, but Renan Barão versus TJ Dillashaw. I don't know why, for some reason, when I'm thinking of Renan's name, I'm thinking of Renato. But it reminded me of that. Man, Bryan Battle, first round, there was like a clinch battle. There was a couple times where Kevin Jousset would like try a trip and almost like kind of slam Bryan Battle on his head. I think twice he did that. But there was just lots of time in the clinch. Then both guys were kind of landing on the feet, but I thought Battle landed way more volume. And I thought it was a close first round, but I thought Battle won the first round. Jousset had a couple good leg kicks, but for the most part, I thought Battle spent more kind of dominant position in the clinch and did more damage on the feet. Second round, Battle starts wrecking him in the clinch. I think he had a knee to the body that kind of hurts him. Starts lowering his arm, starts smashing the body in the clinch. And then, man, once he realized, it's like Battle realized that Jousset was starting to kind of wane and get tired, and Battle just put his foot on the gas. And it was combination after combination after combination after combination, just dicing him up, I mean, it was filthy. It was absolutely filthy. And Jousset just couldn't keep up. He would throw back and snap Battle's head back, but Battle would just keep marching forward. For every one good shot Jousset would land, Battle would land like 5 or 10. That's probably an exaggeration. Probably like 3 to 5 for every one shot Jousset would land. And he was just like a snowball rolling downhill and just piecing him up and dicing him up. And eventually, finally, the referee steps in. It was a standing TKO. Great win from Bryan Battle, man. Great win. And then I'm beginning to really like Bryan Battle. Last fight, he calls out Angelosa for basically quitting. And then this fight, he starts flipping off the crowd and going crazy. And he starts talking shit to the crowd in his post-fight speech, which I thought, was just all in good fun. They're booing him. He's just having a little bit of fun. And the crowd was pissed. And I just thought it was kind of a good moment for Bryan Battle. And people will remember that. And it didn't seem like manufactured. It didn't seem like he was playing some WWE character. And he went out there and had a great performance against a guy who was surging in Kevin Jousset. So I really want to see where Bryan Battle can go in the welterweight division. Great win. Cardio looked incredible. Striking looked improved. Grappling looked good. And he gets it done in the second round with a nasty standing TKO. Next fight on the card, we have William Gomis versus Joanderson Brito. Look, to be honest, William Gomis gets it done via decision. It's a split decision. I thought Joe Anderson Brito won this fight. I mean, the first round is the only round I really had for Gomis. I know you could give the third. I think it was first and third for Gomis, the two judges that gave it to him. First round was like kind of back and forth in the clinch. Brito was super aggressive, had a takedown reminiscent of Ruzaboyev, Nora and Ruzaboyev and his coach celebration after his win over Bruno Ferreira, where, you know, his fingers might got a little bit too deep, and then he took him down and controlled him a bit. Gomis reversed and then ended up in guard, and then Brito ended up working his way back up. And late, Brito got hurt with a shot, not horribly hurt, started charging forward. Gomis shot and then ended up in a deep guillotine and saved by the bell. I thought he was going to get finished by that guillotine. So I think there's even a case to make that Brito won the first round, okay? Second round is indisputable. Brito won that fight, or won that round. Took him down early, had him in the arm triangle, did a little bit of damage up against the fence. And then when Gomis worked his way back up, there wasn't that much time on the clock. I mean, maybe I think less than 2 minutes. And it was competitive on the feet. So you have to give Brito second round. Third round was competitive on the feet. Gomis was landing some body kicks. Brito was marching forward, got a takedown, landed some shots up against the fence. And then with 20 seconds left, Gomis tried a ninja choke. Brito just went to his back for a second to get out, and then they got back up. And actually, I think maybe Gomis finished out with 10 seconds. I think Brito made it jump back up. But either way, I thought third round went to Brito. I think it's you can make a case better for 30-27 than you can for Gomis winning 29-28. And maybe I'm crazy. Now that I'm thinking back, maybe it's not as brutal of a robbery, but I feel like we've been so perverted by the judges nowadays. It's hard to determine what's a robbery and what's not a robbery anymore, because robberies are like Paddy Pimblett, Jarrett Gordon. You know, there's been some horrible robberies. So when you look at this one, it's not as bad as Paddy Pimblett, Jarrett Gordon, or something like that. So I don't know. Maybe it's not as bad as I think. I just felt like Brito got robbed. Super aggressive. Gomis really didn't do much the entire fight. Landed some body kicks, had some moments, reverse position. Didn't really do much damage. Brito was looking for subs, was marching forward. A lot of it was whiffing on air, but still, I thought Joe Anderson Brito got it done. Unfortunately, loses. And I feel like Gomis, man, his last two fights, I think it was his last two fights. So he gets a robbery over Brito. Then he kicks, Yanis Gamori in the groin and gets a TKO win off of that. And then he's acting like he won the world title afterwards. Just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe I'm being a little bit, over dramatic, but I just felt like Brito should have gotten this done. Next fight on the card, the co-main event. Oh, I can't wait to talk about this one. Nassourdine Imavov versus Brendan Allen. Man, Nassourdine Imavov beat the brakes off of Brendan Allen. Now maybe that's a bit hyperbolic, but man, Brendan Allen's used to beating up 2-year-olds, okay? 2-year-old children. He got in there with Nassourdine Imavov, and he didn't realize, man, when you have somebody the same size as you fighting back and the same, reference, the same, general age, you realize it's not as easy to whoop them, okay? Now, first round, Allen got a takedown right off the jump and then just laid in Imavov's guard. Brendan Allen fought in the first round how the Dagestani hater fan base thinks all the Dagestanis fight, even though they don't. Islam's one of the more exciting fighters in the UFC. Habib's one of the most exciting fighters, if not the most exciting UFC fighter of all time. Allen fought how those haters portray Dagestani fighters. He just laid in guard and did nothing. Towards the end, when Herb's like, work. It took him 4 minutes to get there. 3.5 minutes to get there. But then Brendan Allen would kind of posture up and land one ground and pound shot. And I mean, Brendan Allen clearly won the first round. Second round, Allen looked like absolute dog shit. He was shooting ugly, sloppy takedowns, getting sprawled into the mat. At one point, I thought Imavov might KO him with a sprawl. He would sprawl his head into the mat. He would drive the forearm into the back of the head, just pressure him. Not a shot, okay? Not an illegal shot. Cody Brundage, don't gasp, okay? And just sprawling him and just smashing him from top. He would move to the back position and start smacking him, and he was screaming back shots dead the entire time. And a nasty ground and pound. And it was like Brendan Allen would shoot a takedown. He would get stuffed, and then it's like he would just give up. It's like he wouldn't even try to, he would just let go of the grip and then just kind of roll to his back and hope that Imavov would jump into his guard. At one point towards the end of the second round, Imavov ended up in full mount. And then I love what he did. At the very end of the round, he looked for an armbar. With like 10 seconds left, he's like, you know what? I'm in a good position. I'm going to lose it anyway. No matter what I do, I'm going to look for an armbar. I'm going to take a risk here. Looks for an armbar. Wasn't going to get it. Third round, I want to say it's more of the same, but that's not necessarily true. But Imavov was smashing him on the feet. The same 1-2 he's landing against Jared Cannonier. Landing good shots, but starts to gas a bit. Even though he's stuffing Brendan Allen's takedowns, Allen starts to land shots on the feet because Imavov's tired and he's worried about the takedown. Allen landed a couple knees, and I felt like Allen, I mean, he was tired too. I felt like he would have been better off keeping on the feet and trying to strike because Imavov was tired. Like the last 2 minutes of round 3 were hard for Imavov, but Imavov clearly still won round 3. Imavov did so much damage in this fight. Good ground and pound shots, back shots dead, almost dunked him on his bald spot a couple times, was definitely driving the forearm into the bald spot. And it's just, you know, Nassourdine Imavov just outclassed Brendan Allen. And I'm telling you right now, Brendan Allen looked weak, man. You know those fighters, you just look at their grappling sometimes in certain fights and you're like, man, their grappling looks so weak. Like Bryce Mitchell versus Topuria in the second round in particular. That's not necessarily a great example because Bryce is usually pretty strong in the grappling. But like Yair Rodriguez against Brian Ortega, grappling looks weak. Brendan Allen just looked weak here, man. And Nassourdine Imavov just dominated him. And Brendan Allen's young daughters at home clapping up a storm. Get him, Nassourdine, get him. Get revenge for me. Thank you. Whoop him for me. And Nassourdine Imavov did that. And now we have a scenario where we have Robert Whittaker, we have Caio Borralho, and Nassourdine Imavov. What do all three of those guys have in common? They all deserve a middleweight title shot more than beta boy, bitch boy, soy boy, Sean Strickland. Okay? So we got three guys who deserve a middleweight title shot. Imavov calls for a title shot against DDP. Watching this fight and watching Imavov's cardio after being forced to grapple, I think DDP would find a finish in this fight. But it would still be very interesting. And then also, Chimaev, if he beats Whittaker, is going to jump ahead of Sean Strickland as well. So I don't think Sean Strickland's going to get the next title shot. There's too many people above him. You know, he's squeaking out a split decision win over Paulo Costa. Meanwhile, Imavov's out here dominating Brendan Allen. Great win from Nassourdine Imavov. Striking looked really good. Has to work on the cardio. The cardio is a huge issue. He looked like DDP. His cardio looked like DDP's cardio. Let me finish before you get all butthurt about it. If DDP didn't have any heart, okay? If DDP didn't have any heart, this is what his cardio would look like. It would look like Nassourdine Imavov. He'd quit, you know. I'm not saying necessarily Imavov quit, but man, he was exhausted. He didn't have that heart to like fight through the exhaustion. So I don't know how he would do against a guy like DDP. I'd love to see it at some point. I think it's a great matchup. I think he deserves it more than Sean Strickland, but we'll see what happens. You could book, I think DDP versus the winner of Whittaker Chimaev in South Africa 2025. Then you do Nassourdine Imavov versus Caio Borralho for number one contender. Unless Sean Strickland wants to fight one of them for number one contender. Sean Strickland, Caio Borralho for number one contender. I don't know who then you would do Nassourdine Imavov against, but nonetheless, good performance in the co-main event for Nassourdine Imavov. I'm sure Brendan Allen will find some excuse. He actually looked like he thought he won. I don't know if he's just putting on a performance or not. I'm sure he'll blame the commission. That's what he'll do. But Nassourdine Imavov gets a dominant win here. Well, not really super dominant, but Brendan Allen did 0 damage in the first round. Next fight on the card, the main event. We have Renato Moicano versus Benoit Saint-Denis. I have to be honest here, guys. Benoit Saint-Denis got brutally robbed. That corrupt liberal doctor absolutely robbed Benoit Saint-Denis. Because the first round, Saint-Denis throws a kick. Moicano catches it, kind of comes around to the back, takes him down, ends up in guard. And Benoit Saint-Denis, I don't know why he does it. Maybe it's fight IQ. Maybe it's lack of technical ability. I said the one thing you can't do in this fight is you can't try to scramble up and expose your back. You cannot give back exposure to a guy like Renato Moicano. Not only does he do that, he does it multiple times. And then he ends up mounted with the body triangle around the back. He ends up giving up his back, and Moicano just starts smashing him with elbows and smashing him with ground and pound. Then he gets back to a good position. And then instead of being like, okay, well, I'd rather just wait out the round, and the next round I could just worry about stuffing his takedowns because I got caught off guard early, I'm going to just continue to end up in bad position. So he gets smashed the first round. Eyes all cut up, eyes are swollen. Second round, he comes out, and absolutely dominates Renato Moicano. First round, 10-8, Renato Moicano. Second round, for Benoit Saint-Denis, absolute 10-8, complete and utter domination. And then by the end of the round, I'm like, okay, Saint-Denis is going to end up getting doctor stoppage probably. Yeah, that's basically what happened. Doctor came out, checked him out, said, look, you're done, you can't see. And it was that corrupt liberal doctor, okay? Moicano got exposed. He got bailed out by this doctor who hates democracy or hates democracy. I'm kidding. I was joking around on stream and people were getting all butthurt about it. So just so you know, I'm kidding. Moicano destroyed him in the first round. Most likely Moicano was going to win this fight regardless. But it sucks. You have a fight that was 1-1. It's a 5-round fight. Both guys like to go to war. It felt anticlimactic to me. And people were like, oh, fraud check, fraud check. Benoit Saint-Denis, I don't think this is a fraud check by any means. Were people overhyped on him? Sure. But to act like he's a fraud is craziness to me. Absolute craziness to me. And I just think, you know, he did say he was a bit sleepy. He pulled the Leon Edwards excuse afterwards. But if it weren't for that corrupt doctor, he was covering his eye and then saying, yeah, you can't see. But yeah, Moicano, if you give up your back to Moicano, back shot's dead, guaranteed. And that's what Benoit Saint-Denis, it's a 5-round fight, man. Why are you going to put yourself in that position? His best position is on your back. Why allow him to get there? I just don't get it. We see it time and time again, guys do this, and they've regretted it badly. And he did it in this fight. But Moicano, fair enough to him. As much as it sucks because it was 1-1, at the end of the day, if it didn't get stopped after round 2, it was going to get stopped after round 3, even if Benoit, I mean, that would have been even worse. BSD if he won second and third. And by the way, the second round was not dominant. I was only kidding about that. It's a joke from the live stream. I know how many people are going to be down in the comments. I wanted to keep it going for a couple minutes. But second round, Benoit Saint-Denis just outstruck him. Stuffed the takedowns of Moicano. Maybe Moicano was tired from all the damage he did in the first. But I would have loved to have seen this fight play out a little bit more. It sucks. I knew the stoppage was coming. Renato Moicano says he wants to fight Dan Hooker or Paddy Pimblett. I think he has a good chance against both those guys, you know, but it's crazy to me because Moicano, this little run that he's put together now, I mean, Drew Dober almost finished him. Jalen Turner fumbled the bag, should have finished him. And now Benoit Saint-Denis, I'm not saying that Moicano wouldn't have won, but horrible fight IQ in that first round. Listen, try to get out of position, okay? Try to get out of the position. Try to put your feet on the hips and create space. But the one thing you don't need to do is give your back to Moicano under no circumstances. And that's exactly what it seemed like he was hell-bent on doing. And it cost him because he got absolutely, I mean, the elbows he was taking, the ground and pound shots he was taking. I imagine that's what Thanksgiving dinner looks like between Jamal Hill and his brother, because Moicano was just putting a beating on him in that first round. But Saint-Denis got a war. He survives. He lived to fight a second round. But the damage was just too much. I wonder if Moicano would have gassed. For me, at the end of the day, it's not the worst. You know, there's been worse like injuries where you don't get to see the fight continue. And you wonder what would have happened, like Curtis Blades, Tom Aspinall. I know this isn't the same thing. You know, this isn't the worst because we did see Moicano. It just sucks. We see him 1-1. We have a 5-round fight between two warriors, and it's this great matchup we're anticipating, and then it's like, doctor stopping it. And I understand why, and I agree with the doctor stoppage. I'm not even complaining about that. But yeah, Moicano gets it done. I think he beats Paddy Pimblett. I don't know about the Dan Hooker fight. I'd love to see the Dan Hooker fight. Moicano would beat Gaethje if he can get him down. Gaethje would destroy him on the feet, but Gaethje has no BJJ. So there's a lot of interesting matchups. I was looking at the rankings, and I don't think I have it up right here. Hold on one second. Let me pull up the rankings real quick so we can discuss it for 1 second. You look at the rankings right now, okay, for the lightweight division, and you know what? We don't even need to be on this screen anymore. You look at the rankings for the lightweight division. You have Moicano at 11. You have Benoit Saint-Denis at 12. So I understand, okay, where's Moicano going to go from here? Here's what I say you do, because you're not moving Moicano above Max Holloway. You're not moving Moicano over Rafael Vaziv, who actually destroyed him, even though it was a while ago. You're not moving Moicano over Mateusz Gamrot or Beneil Dariush. So where does he go from here with a win over a guy from behind him in the rankings? Here's what you do. You take Michael Chandler's ass out of number 6, you move him down to number 12 or 13, and let Moicano at least move up one spot. He deserves that. He went out there and got a savage win against BSD. While I would have liked to have seen it gone for a couple more rounds, it is what it is. He did that damage in the first round. That won him the fight. So, great win from Renato Moicano. Can't wait to see who he fights next. I wouldn't mind seeing him against Beneil Dariush. I think that's a great matchup. And it's a winnable matchup for Moicano. Wouldn't mind seeing the Paddy Pimblett fight. But, man, I think Paddy Pimblett is going to get destroyed by Moicano. But who knows? You never know. That's a big fight that could be made later this year, maybe November, December. But Moicano gets it done. UFC Paris delivers. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're almost to 30K. We're razor close. Within the next week, we should hit 30K subscribers. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.